Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to a little impromptu Star Wars CCG streaming. I am Bill Kafer, aka Taco Bill, the tournament director for this Champions League that we're watching some games of now. I'm going to be watching Brian Fred here, retwin316, against Matthew Harrison-Trainor, MatthewHT. This is part of Group A for the Champions League. Both players, I think, have 3 wins currently. There's some stuff going on in Pot A. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But both players at the top of their group, so trying to get that one automatic bid into the next round. Fight for that second place bid, currently occupied by Anthony Howard and Justin Miyashiro. We're jumping in here mid-game, so I don't know what's going on yet. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm still waiting on you guys. I want to see somebody tell me that you can hear me in the chat. That would be fantastic, so I don't have to fix things on the fly here. If I don't see anybody, we'll start soon. All right, thank you. All right, so I have not looked at this game yet, but I see that Matthew Harrison-Trainor here playing Hunt Down Virtual. Brian Fred playing We Have a Plan. Looks like Matthew started a pretty standard start for Hunt Down Virtual. We're on turn 3, by the way, so we're a little bit into this one. Pretty standard start, I think, with the Crush, I'm Your Father, and Many Hunting You. That's what we as a team have been starting for a while. It's what we played at Worlds. It's what I played in the round of 16 of the OCS. So there's a couple of those deck lists floating around. Also starts with, Vader's site here, Vader's Castle. Starts with the 1-0 Malachor site, pulls the second 2-1 Malachor site where he drains for +1. Crush the Rebellion is going to allow him to pull Mustafar and the Docking Bay. Of course, he gets a once per game pull for a lightsaber. He probably grabbed this Dark Jedi Saber at the beginning of the game. So we see him set up with a 7th Sister at the upper chamber, where he's draining for 3 potentially. And then we also see a new card here, a Virtual Set 20 card, the 3rd Sister. I think it's a good addition to the deck. It helps you be a bit more offensive. She deploys for 3. You can't hear me. That's bad. I didn't change anything between then and when he said that. I wonder if this is my volume. Hello, can you hear me? Am I looking at my volume? Looks like I should be playing. I don't know. Alright, cool. I'm going to keep talking. What was I saying? 3rd Sister, very good to be offensive. Deploy 3, power 4, draws Destiny, immune to 4. Has some other text, but that's like the gist of it. Also is an Inquisitor. Obviously allows you to benefit from Many Hunting You. Brian Fred, on the other hand, starting We Have a Plan. So that starts what I think is pretty standard. I'm not 100%. We haven't played We Have a Plan as much. But starts Jedi Business. We'll Take the Long Way and Walkling. That seems like a pretty standard start. Of course, starts with the 3 Naboo sites. Gets to pull a queen, gets to pull a 2-2, so of course pulled Camino here, which pulls the additional 2-0. Obviously has found a couple things here, so at the throne room here, we've got Panaka, Queen Amidala, Tarful, Mace Windu with a Jedi Lightsaber, and Jairus Janek, all pretty standard cards. Of course, here's Yoda battling the 3rd Sister at the moment. I think that catches us up on everything here. We're in turn 3. Brian's turn 3, so the end of turn 3 here. Brian with only 3 cards in hand versus Matthew with 10 cards in hand. But Matthew also 10 cards in Lost Pile versus Brian's 5. I mean, Tarful is a pretty good card. I don't know what to tell you. Like, he's power 6. He cancels. Pick a bad interrupt to cancel. Probably what? These are already immune to You Were Beaten and Snipers, so maybe like Sith Fury? Maybe like, I don't know, Barrier? No, Barrier doesn't work. I don't know what I'm thinking here. I don't know. Tarful's a good card. Maybe standard is not correct for Tarful. But he is going to put Yoda in use pile here with Tarful if he has to lose Yoda, so that's pretty good. So during this battle, Yoda power 6 because Mace is the only other Jedi on the table. The Inquisitor power 4. Yoda drew a 3 for Destiny. The Inquisitor drew a 4. That's not going to be plus anything because there's... Oh, sorry, drew a 3. That's going to be plus 1 because there's an Inquisitor there, but not plus 2 because there's no Hatred card there. So Matt going to have to lose 1 force here because he is immune to less than 4. So Yoda will stick around, the Inquisitor will stick around. I think Matt's pretty happy about that. That token, I mean, I guess 4 is not token immunity, but immunity less than 4, very good. Here's some text on her too. So once per turn, if opponent's card just moved from here, opponent loses 1 force. So Yoda moved away. Brian having to lose a force here. All right, what else do we have on the table? What do we miss? So Matt found a blockade flagship. So he's activating 16. That's likely all of the locations in his deck, if I had to guess. Also found an enforcement, which is now a slightly different card. This one lets you initiate battles for free. Lets you take into hand and cancel and redraw, so that's still good. But it doesn't let you retrieve anymore. But at the same time, it doesn't have that same restriction where it was suspended if your opponent had more locations than you. So you get to play it with impunity, you just don't get to retrieve anymore. It's a legitimate change. Somebody had mentioned, I don't remember where it was, if it was Slack or on the forums, talking about Huntdown Virtual, maybe like they have to play more characters just because you can't retrieve those Inquisitors anymore. And I don't know that that's true. A lot of times you would just like throw an Emperor away and like you get to retrieve an Emperor, but now you don't. So maybe you just have to track more now. Alright, the only other visible cards I see, Blast Door Controls in the Lost Pile for Matt, and Blaster Deflection in the Lost Pile for Brian. So here, Matt draining for 3 at the upper chamber. WHAP, of course, when flipped, basically acts as ultimatum, so Brian only losing 2 force, losing a Qui-Gon Jinn with Lightsaber, which is an interesting card. And they're tracking this V. I think the Qui-Gon choice in WHAP could be interesting, right? So, I mean, Master Qui-Gon, obviously very good. Immune to Disarmed, which has been pretty big in the meta recently, at least in the last year and a half. You got Serene Jedi Qui-Gon, who, of course, wants to be alone, so maybe not the best choice in WHAP. And then you've got the EPP Qui-Gons. This one adding a Destiny with Maul, costing 7. Of course, costing 1 less with Jedi Business, right? And you've got the new one, who does not add a Destiny with Maul, but only costs 5. So also interesting. I think there's a lot of choices there for Qui-Gons. Brian going with Qui-Gon Jinn with Lightsaber in this particular deck. Alright, now I can poke around some things, see what's going on here. I am trying to pull up the standings for this group. So, I know Brian Fred played 2 games earlier with Paul McPherson. They split games with Brian coming out about 7 diff ahead. Matthew has played Paul previously. Matthew won both of those games by a significant margin, so definitely kind of in the driver's seat here. So we'll see, but Brian certainly in a strong position to get one of those at-large bids that I was talking about earlier. Alright, so looks like the third sister also drained for 2 at the courtyard. Brian played It Could Be Worse, which got grabbed, so did not have to lose the 2, but does have It Could Be Worse grabbed. I saw 3PO was drawn for Destiny at some point, so it's entirely possible that he's running We're Doomed also. So maybe that's a I don't know. I go back and forth on grabbing It Could Be Worse. I don't know how you guys feel about it. You can let me know in the chat. I don't like to grab it very often. I think it's a card that, yes, it's annoying, and yes, it slows the game down, and yes, it prevents you from winning, but it also forces your opponent to spend force to do that, especially late game. That gets much harder. Early game, it means there's less cards in your opponent's hand, so I'm just gonna let it go a lot of times. Or I also typically play It's Worse. That's one of the cards I pretty much always have in mind when I'm building a deck, so maybe that's another reason why I don't tend to grab it. Alright, let's look at this thing here. 13 viewers. That's great for impromptu streams on Sunday nights. Today, of course, the last day of the Champions League. A lot of games still to be played, unfortunately. I did anticipate this a little bit, that, you know, through either no fault of their own or absolutely through the fault of their own, that there is an extra day in the league, so it'll run through tomorrow. So try to get all your games in if you can. That would be great. I don't want to flip coins. I think I'm going to have to flip some coins. Let's see. We've got already qualified, so Pod F. Pod F is already finished. Chris Kelly went undefeated in Pod F, so his score of 12 plus 90 is currently sitting in #1 spot. Pod E, still a couple games to be played by a certain person who's sitting in the chat right now. That would be great for you to finish those. That will let us get a little more information on that. That's currently being led by Sam Tashima. He's the only one in the pod who's finished all 6 of his games, finished at 3-3 minus 12. Pod D is finished with all of their games. So Pod D won by Joe Olson, who went 5-1 plus 57, so 10 plus 57. Currently sitting in 2nd place. Yeah, Chris, I'm gonna figure out what to do. So part of this is you need to reward the people who did play all their games, and part of this is you need to figure out the fairest way to do that, right? So me and Jared have been talking about a few things. There's also, I'm sure there's been games that I just do not have the results of. I haven't checked the number of finished games versus what I have on the forum. So we'll figure that out. Let's see. Pod D, we talked about. Pod C, I know, has a couple games scheduled for tonight. Currently in the lead there is Connor Britton. Yeah, see? Greg Shaw's got 3 results for me that he hasn't sent me. Is it against you? Is it you and Connor 2 games and you and John McFarland 1 game? Because I have those 3 results. If you win your last 3 games against Charlie twice and John once, and Connor loses to Charlie, yes, you are potentially live. Charlie also, I mean, that entire pot is live, because John McFarland still has 3 games to play also. So Pod C, all live. Alright, let me look into what's going on this turn. So I saw Emperor's Personal Shuttle come down to the 2-2. Brian Fred pulled Goldenrod, and no Emperor followed, so maybe he's coming, maybe he's not. Here comes the 5th brother to the hallway, which now that Brian is flipped, that does have an icon. Here comes... Oh, that got a hatred card stacked on Yoda, and Brian lost to Force Kit Fisto to prevent his text from being canceled. First Strike came out, and we have a battle. So 5th brother here, 7 power, drawing Destiny. Destiny total is +2. here plays far more frightening than death to add a destiny, so we'll draw 2 destiny. The total will be +2 versus 6 power for Yoda. So we could see Yoda hit the used pile here. There's a 1 for Battle Destiny, that'll get redrawn. Alright, so a 5 gets drawn, that gets canceled by WHAP, which is just so fun. And then a 3. So that's going to be a total of 5, so 12 power for the 5th brother. And then Brian Fred drawing Queen Amidala, which is a 2. So 8 total power, so he'll lose the battle by 4 here. The 5th brother will go away, he's not immune to anything. And Brian deciding what to do with his 4 battle damage here. Does forfeit Yoda. Does not place him in the use pile. Did I read this wrong? Oh, it's not even use pile. So once per game, if Yoda about to be lost, may place him in owner's hand instead. I wonder if we missed that early in the game. I saw there was a chat that said Brian wanted to play someone that wasn't Yoda, so I don't know. Could be. I did miss that? Okay. So that's already been used, so that's why. That makes sense. What is this? Hello. Offer promotion for my channel. Oh boy. Making the big time, boys. Getting the bots. It's because we're almost to 100 followers here, so that's pretty cool. 6 more followers for 100. Not bad for someone who streams very erratically. And poorly. Alright, so that was the end of Matt's turn 4. We're on to Brian's turn 4 here now. While he sets up and does early turn things, I will take a look at these standings again. So Pod B. Pod B is just about finished. There's 1 game left. The problem is that it's going to determine who wins the pod. So currently, Eric Hunter is sitting at 8 plus 54. David Center is the other person who he has to play. David sitting at 6 minus 8, so technically still alive. A win by David by 31 would actually put them in a tie. I think that would be the biggest. No, it would be the second biggest win we've seen in this event, but it's still technically in the realm of possibility, so I'm not going to call that one done yet. And then we talked about Pod A already, so that's all of those. Let's see here. We got some WHAP damage here. Matt losing We Must Accelerate Our Plans and a force field. The force field from hand. Interesting enough. There's a projection of a Skywalker here, so that also makes me think that maybe that's why Yoda has already been taken in hand. Brian did pop his Walkling to get the Yoda back, though, so it's somewhere floating in the deck. Here comes General Kenobi. It's just like in the TV show. General Kenobi against the Ninth Sister. Here's Jedi business to deploy a lightsaber on Kenobi. This just is, yeah, you're right. This is just Kenobi. The card titled General Kenobi, no longer a general. So Kenobi with a Jedi lightsaber. Gonna battle the third sister here. Brian retrieving a force, getting back Captain Rex. Matt losing a force. I mean, he probably has another force field in his hand, right? Either that or force field really doesn't matter with a Jedi lightsaber too much. Like, you're expected to lose some of these Inquisitors, right? So maybe you don't care about losing this third sister right now. Or maybe you have 2. I don't know. We'll see. Matt losing Mithra Naruto from hand. Alright, so no second force field, so firing at the 9th sister. Draws a 6. Or just swings +1. Or swings to hit her +1? Oh, the weapon does need to hit her +1. That's what it is. Alright, so it draws a 6 and a 4. Hits the 3rd sister, so she will not be able to be used to satisfy attrition, but is not forfeit 0. So not a huge danger here. Difference in power right now is 6 to effectively 5, because sister's going to draw at +1, and she's got 5 forfeits, so decent, I guess. We'll see what Matt actually draws and see if it gets canceled or not. So here's that Queen Amidala getting drawn again for Destiny by Brian. So he's going to be at 8. He's going to not add 1 to it. That's good, because he can add 1 to his opponents now. So Matt drawing a 1. It's Darth Vader, Emperor's Enforcer. That would be a total of 2. I think Brian gets the chance to add 1 to it, but that wouldn't do anything where he could cancel it. And then Matt will get the opportunity to take it into hand to cancel redraw with Enforcement. Which he does. Draws another 1. So he's going to have 2 total. It's going to be 8 to 6. 3rd sister's going to go lost, and that's all that's going to happen here. So Matt has redrawn Emperor's Enforcer Vader 2 turns in a row, so he's definitely got him in hand. Kenobi heading over to the hallway. Both players sitting relatively even, I guess. So 30 hand in life for Brian versus 26 hand in life for Matt. But Matt does satisfy battle plan and is draining for 2 and 2. Versus 2 ping from WHAP and a drain of currently 2 and 1 if he chooses to pay. 2 and 2. Like I'm looking at projection like it's going to make late sides drain less. That's not true. And we saw that, I don't know if you saw, I saw earlier that Matthew was playing the non-virtual image of the Dark Lord by accident, so that went lost early. I wonder if that could have been live here. I don't quite remember the text of that. I'm going to scroll back and find it. At least 3 more force than you, so no, it would not have been live. Yeah, that would have been tough, because you wouldn't have wanted to, if you wanted to make that work, you wouldn't deploy your 2-1 or your bridge. And that just seems bad. Alright, so Visage also in effect here, so where did he lose that from? So Brian Fred losing Obi's saber from hand. Obi's already got a saber, so that's fine. Does use his Obi action here to take Rex into hand. He retrieved that Rex last turn, so probably had that in mind when he battled. Matt activating first 14, now 15. Alright, so Matt here is going to drain for 2 and 2. There goes Oddball. General Kenobi from reserve deck. And then another drain of 2, so Yoda from reserve deck and Tup from reserve deck. I need to answer my wife quickly. Down comes the Grand Inquisitor to fight General Kenobi. Once again promoted to the rank of General. Gonna stack the third sister on Kenobi. And Kenobi will have his text canceled, actually. Interesting. I'm wondering if I'm trying to think back to last turn. If anything was put on top of that 1. So Mara Jade should be the bottom card of Matt's reserve deck, I think. I don't think anything got put on top of it, and I don't think he lost it. So theoretically, he could shuffle here and get a 1 in 3 chance to definitely get rid of Kenobi. Otherwise, it's going to depend on what his destinies are, or if he's got something like a Dark Time in hand that won't let Brian cancel his destinies. Because presumably that's what Brian Fred is relying on here. While we have a minute, I can pitch some of our upcoming events, which you may or may not have seen. I know James does a great job about blasting those literally everywhere. So sign-ups are open for the 7th GMPC starting in early January. You sign up on the forum. There's a Google document you can fill out, and it's free to play. It's a good time for everybody. We had 100 and something people last year, maybe 120. Not quite 128, but something like that. So definitely sign up if you're going to be around in January. So here comes one of those Darth Vader's Emperor's Enforcers coming down. Loses a force from used pile to get Vader's Saber from the lost pile. So that's been in the lost pile. Okay, that must have been something we missed early. Down comes an Emperor into space to shore up space a little bit here. And we see a battle. So Matt's going to retrieve the far more frightening than death that he lost to get Vader's Saber back. He'll get to swing at Vader here, at Kenobi here. And he will be able to get to that 1 at the bottom of the deck, more importantly. Fred losing Commander Cody from hand. Here's a swing at Kenobi. Here's a blaster deflection to cancel it. Here's a swing at Vader. And a force field to cancel that. So presumably he did have this in hand already last turn when he could have used it on the third sister, but it didn't really matter. Here it does matter. So a good hold. So they'll both just draw Destiny. Matt's is going to be +2 total. So Kenobi could be in a little trouble here, depending on what Matt draws. If I were him, I'd probably try to shuffle to find that 1, because this 5 that he drew is going to get canceled. Oh, no, never mind. Brian Fred used his 1 force to grab force field, so now does not have a force to cancel that destiny. So that 5 is going to become a total of 7, bringing his total to 18. Brian Fred is going to draw 4, so his total is going to be 10. Kenobi will cover that 8 damage, and the Grand Inquisitor will have to go lost. I almost called him Grand Admiral Inquisitor, which would have been really good. Can we make that card? Alright, so Obi's gone. Grand Inquisitor's gone. Grand Inquisitor does have to go first, so not able to get a ping in there. I suppose Matt could have lost a force first and then have Brian Fred lose Obi to get a ping, but that's just a 1-for-1 trade. Doesn't seem great. Not when you're playing for diff like this. No, he won the battle, you're right. Okay. And then we saw Force Push go lost to the Visage ping. Now we're seeing a WHAP ping where Matt is going to lose Izard from use pile. We must accelerate our plans from hand. Brian Fred going to pay 3 to drain for 2 here. Matt going to lose a 2nd copy of Enforcement and a far more frightening than death from reserve deck. Life counts. So hand and life, Matt is at 13 in life force, so 12 in reserve deck, 1 in force pile, with 4 in hand. Brian Fred has 20 in life force, so that's 7 in reserve, 9 currently in used after deploying Qui-Gon, and then 3, it was 4, so it's 20 total in life force. And 3 in hand. He is going to initiate battle here with Qui-Gon and retrieve 1, so that brings him up to, quick math, 21, and 3 in hand. So slightly ahead here, but Matt obviously able to drain for free. So we saw a battle here. Brian Fred retrieves Jedi Lightsaber, and Matthew loses Emperor Palpatine from reserve deck, so that's unfortunate to lose a 6 off the top. Qui-Gon going to swing at the 7th sister. Draws a 5 and a 3, so that will hit. So she is going to be forfeit 0 this time. So hit and forfeit 0. That's good. Seven Sisters swinging back with the Dark Jedi Lightsaber. Draws a 4. Third Sister Destiny +1 from the objective. And then this should be a 1. Oh, nope, can't track. Okay. So Fifth Brother also Destiny +1 from the objective. That'll get redrawn though. So Fifth Brother into Matt's hand. Draws a 5. So 9 total, that will hit. So Matt's going to draw Destiny +1 here. Brian's going to draw it normal. So Matt is going to Sniper Dark Strike here, so effectively losing 2 cards, even though only down by 1. I guess he's worried about that card being a big Destiny, so plays the Sniper Dark Strike to make Qui-Gon lost. That'll end the battle. Both sides will be cleared. The cat will come into the room. And probably be annoying. Hello. Yes, hello. It's an interesting choice, right? Because you have to lose Sniper and the one card when you're down a power effectively. Um, so if you thought you were going to draw a high Destiny, it would probably get canceled by WHAP. So all right, we're down to, let's see, Matt's turn 6 here. He activates everything, so all 10 with the one he already had. Gonna drain for 2 at the system. Brian losing Keep Your Eyes Open and Queen Amidala. Drains for 2 at the hallway because Sio Bibble is nowhere to be found. So Brian Fred losing Odin and Sense, both from reserve deck. Both players with 3 cards in hand. Brian with 16 in Life Force, Matt with 11 in Force Pile. You want to be on the camera? Is that what you're doing? You have food. I know that. I put it there myself. You're just going to sit here and yell, aren't you? Great job. Alright, so 11 Force in hand. We know he has at least a 5th brother. Might see that just come down to Malachor and try to get an extra drain of 2 in there. That seems reasonable to me. Or maybe even down to Naboo and get an extra drain 2 in there. Reasonable plays. Brian with only 3 cards in hand, and we've seen him lose a couple characters. He does still have Captain Rex, though. So yes, hello. Yes. There you go. You can be on camera now. Look at the camera. Yeah, there it is. No, hello. I smell like beer. It's fine. Go that way. Thank you. Alright, so here comes that 5th brother I was talking about. The co-host name is Koi. She's named after the fish because she looks like a fish, even though she's a cat. Yeah. Not named after Koi Detmer, no. Eagles legend Koi Detmer. So also comes down with Mara with Lightsaber. That's where that ended up. I lost track of it at some point, so he must have redrawn it into hand with Enforcement when I wasn't thinking. Yes, I know you were. You were thinking that. So just plays the 2 characters, draws a couple cards, draw 2 cards, and then past turn has to lose 1 to Visage, so we'll lose a Masterful Move from hand. Brian starting his turn with 16 here, 3 in hand. He's going to definitely do 2 damage via WHAP. And then he needs to do something, otherwise he's facing down drains of 8 next turn, potentially. So here's that 2 from WHAP. It's a 9th Sister and a Day Long Remembered V. 9th Sister from reserve deck, Day Long Remembered from hand. We'll pay 3 here. So he activated 12, which is 1 less than he could. So probably some kind of plan in mind. Part of that plan involves paying 3 to drain for 2 at the throne room. Matt lamenting the image of the Dark Lord mistake. Probably would have saved 4 or 5 cards at this point. No, probably not that many. Probably 3 or 4. And maybe, I guess maybe more, because maybe you don't pay 3 to drain for 1. Okay, so Captain Rex is coming down to the upper chamber, along with CT5555, aka 5s. I want you guys to know that when Chris Menzel was designing 5s, I was also, unknowns to either of us, I was also designing a 5s character. And his got through the process of approval first, so I had to not design mine, which was unfortunate. But his turned out, I think, better than what I was trying to do with mine. Also has the number 5 on it a lot. Alright, so Captain Rex, CT5555, to the upper chamber. Both players with 1 card in hand. Brian checked his reserve deck, knows what's in there. We don't. Matt also knows what's in there. We still don't. We'll initiate a battle here. It is going to pay 1 to retrieve 1. Get back a sense. Matt losing a Dark Time from reserve deck, which is unfortunate. That would be a good card to have here. Yeah, said as much in the chat. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, so Captain Rex here using his twin blasters to fire at the 5th brother. That 4 and that 5 will hit. And that makes him, what, forfeit -3? Oh man, wouldn't it be great if I just made a bad Mist Hunter also, now that we have a Zuckuss? Just like have a monopoly on bad independent starships? So Battle Destiny here of 3. So total of 8. Matt gonna draw Tarkin, which is a 3, which is gonna be a total of 4. So each player just having to lose attrition. Brian specifically losing 5s first, who was only forfeit 3, so that Captain Rex is not sticking around. So both players clear there. I expect we'll see Brian move at least Mace and, well, maybe not Mace, right? Because Mace is no longer immune to attrition, right? He would just be immune to less than 8. That's probably fine. Move like Mace and Tarful? I think you move at least Mace. What am I going to help with my Advocate Award player card design? I sent Drew a couple ideas already, actually, just to get his input on it. I feel like I made a bunch of nouns. It would be nice to make like a decent interrupt to play, because I don't feel like anybody plays always 2 there are. Or you do, but like only in the decks where it's good, right? It would be cool to see something played more often. I think the 2 cards I sent him were a Rebel Ambush V, which I think did some cool things. It might be way too good. I don't know. We'll see. And then the other one was a Logistical Delay V. So you can infer from those perhaps what I wanted to do. Probably not, though. All right, so nobody's actually going to move. That's interesting to me. I probably would have moved Mace over because it's tough for Matt to really do anything other than just battle into him. And you're probably fine losing that. I don't know. Because you're still going to do 2 damage. No, all right. Yeah, I guess I see the logic, right? Because you want to be able to do 4 damage on your next turn via draining with Mace and WHAP damage, so you don't want to lose Mace to that. But you also could have like taken out Vader and moved over Panaka. So it could have gone either way, I think. Does lose a force at the end of his turn, loses Ascension Guns from reserve deck. So Brian with 15 in life force, 2 in hand. Matt with 5 in life force, 1 in hand to start his turn. We don't need to make a V pin down because pin down is already really good. That originally was an anti-Lenny card, going back like 18 months when Lenny was still playing in locals with me. And playing Diplo all the time. Alright, so Matt activating here, activating 2 force. Interesting. Wonder what 2 force is for. Alright, so draining for 2 at the courtyard. Brian losing Sorry About the Mess and Clash. Draining for 2 in the hallway. Losing Are You Brain Dead and Unita. And draining for 2 at Camino. Brian losing Sense and Sio Bibble. Yeah, Hunt Down V is it's a good time. We played it a bunch of us played it at Worlds. That's what I wanted to say. A bunch of us played it at Worlds. I played it in the top 16 of the OCS. Yeah, it's a good time. I don't know that we did well with it, but we played it. Alright, so Matt activated 2, did his drains, lost a card. No, drew a card and then lost the card. Okay. Maybe he's tracking whatever that card is, and I'm not. Maybe we'll see it this turn. So Brian activating all 10 force here. Fully expect that he will pay 3 to drain for 2. And also do 2 WHAP damage, so Matt will get 1 more turn with 1 force. So it was the 9th sister that he drew into hand, but there it goes. Palpatine for force pile. Here's the drain of 2. Third sister and masterful move, so down to 1 card. Here comes Plo Koon. So Brian Fred here going to be able to initiate a battle with Plo Koon. First strike is going to let him retrieve a force, so he'll get up to 11 and make Matt lose his last force. So Brian Fred winning here by 11. I don't know if they're playing the second game now or not. We'll hang around for a couple minutes and see what they're doing. I'm going to put this into the Champions League results page. Brian Fred plus 11. That is Brian Fred light side. Brian plus 11. means that he goes to 8 plus 59. And Matt goes to 66. Yeah, it looks like they're going to do about 5 or 10 minutes here before they do the next one. I will stick around and do both. Do the next game as well. I'm going to take a short break as well too. Mostly because I'm almost out of beer. And then we'll get the other game going. So I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Let's figure out if I can put on something fancy while we go away here. I know I can turn myself off. There we go. I don't have anything fancy to put up, so I'll just leave this page up. Alright, so I have returned. I believe they're still taking a break here. Haven't seen them pop up anything yet. But I'm gonna reload my thing. Am I still going? I'm still live? People can hear me? Hello. Echo, echo, echo. Alright. Yeah, they're still taking a break. I'm gonna check in on this other Champions League game here. This is Chris Wirfs against Dan Tartaglione. That's out of Group E, Pod E. Looks like Dan playing Agents of Black Sun. Wirfs playing Saga with Anakin. Currently with Life Force looks like 24 for Wirfs with 7 in hand versus 16 and 6 for Dan. So looking like Wirfs is going to win this game. This really is like, this is my favorite pod just because if Wirfs wins this game, actually if either player wins this game, that will be their second win. So they're still behind Sam. So they're still going to need to catch up to Sam. So it's entirely possible that like Sam's 6 minus 12 could stand, theoretically. I don't think it will, but it could. We jumped into a battle here where we see Jango Fett. This is a Wirfs initiated battle, a light side initiated battle. Jango Fett and Ig. Jango escorting, is that Anakin? Got himself captured. Escorting Anakin, fighting against Master Luke, General Leia, and Lando. Ig trying to capture Luke here, and Will. That's a bad time. I expect Luke will go to the used pile here. Yeah, there he goes. Wirfs is going to draw 2 Destiny, and very likely to get rid of everything. Just needs to draw 7 total. And then Anakin will be back. There's a 4. And a 4, so that will clear everything. Anakin's going to come back to the table. We, of course, see another V20 card here. We got a Millennium Falcon V. I'll grab this out of the way so we can see the Destiny. It's a 2. Millennium Falcon V that can deploy either Han or Chewie aboard while you have either a Reflections 2 location on table, so that's just the V18 Mos Eisley Virtual, or one of the Skywalker Saga cards on table. So in this case, it's the what's the name of it? It's the Skywalker Hut. No, it's not the Skywalker Hut. It's the other one. It's Slave Quarters V. So Jango will go lost here. Dan will get to take Boba Fett into hand. Takes a Boba Fett bounty hunter. Anakin comes back to the site. Wirfs looking like he's in control here. On Dan only on 1 battleground now, and that's in space. Chelly, of course, here, but that pull of Simple Tricks will make sure that Dan can't drain at the 2-0. So Wirfs looking pretty strong here. We'll have to contend with that Boba Fett bounty hunter coming back at him at some point in the near future, potentially. Check and see if other game is going yet. Brian Fred says his cards aren't updated to V20. I'm pretty sure they are. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how it's going to work, right? So if you haven't updated your cache, the cards will work in the new way, but it will show the old image, right? So something like, what's something that's different? I'm drawing a complete blank. Domination might show the old image, but it wouldn't ever be suspended. I'm pretty sure, at least. Yes, enforcement, right. Alright, maybe I'll try to do the thing where I do 2 games at once. That seems perilous, but we'll see. We'll see here. We'll see how this works. Perhaps someone can help Brian Fred with his cash thing, because I do not know the answer to that. I just kind of wait for things to show up correctly. Alright, let's see here what we got going on. So we saw Wirfs' turn when we jumped in before, and then we see on Dan's turn, he deployed P59, he deployed Mara, and he deployed U3PO. Wirfs just tried to Jedi Levitation to retrieve someone, but that got sensed by Mara. Dan losing 2 force in the process. If we're going double box, I need to get out of the way, don't I? Where's the best place for me here? Is it here? It's probably right there. Make myself tiny, go right there. I guess I can live in this box. So Hera came down. Hera's going to battle into Mara. Mara is going to swing at Hera and hit Hera. So she will be forfeit 0. Wirfs has a 4 for Destiny, so 8 total power versus Mara. Versus a 5 for Dan, so that's going to be 9. So Hera and 1 force will be lost, and Mara will be lost as well. I mean, it is Sunday. We do have to go to the double box at least once on Sundays. Alright, so Wirfs clearing Mara, so that clears him from a second battleground again. So again, Shelly and P59 not able to drain. Gonna move Anakin over. U3PO is gonna follow. Then we're gonna move Leia to the site where she's able to make that a drain 2 instead of 1. And then probably use 1 force to move over Yoda to the Zizor's Palace uplink station, which now has a fancy new image on GIMP, so people don't get confused anymore. At least not about which site is which, it's now what site is that in general, because they're brand new images. Looks like Ahsoka also going to move to the Imperial City, where she's going to be able to drain 4/2 as well. So Wirfs very much with this game in hand. I think it's just a matter of how many, what the diff's going to be. Draws a couple cards here. Ends his turn with 25 in hand and life. I mean, the double box is much easier when there's only 1 game going on, so I will say. Alright, so Dan's turn here, he activates 7, giving him 8 to work with, leaving 1 in reserve and 4 in hand. Gonna check what that 1 card is. Going to Ellis. That's a good card to find. So, going to Ellis. It's an Arsing, so it's a Destiny 4 because of Quietly Observing. Ellis, P59, and Chelly to the uplink station. Pays 4. Does go through. Ellis goes U, so now he can drain for 2 in space. Or, sorry, drain for 1 in space, but doesn't. I guess he wasn't able to look for anything prior to know what it was. Yeah, so that should have been played. The Ellis should have been done during the control phase, because that would have let you drain for 1, I guess. Right? -1. -1. Would have let you drain for 1, but I guess you wouldn't know what it is, so maybe if you really want to deploy that Cad Bane, you do have to wait and check. Presumably already used his fanfare pool to get Sizar's Bounty, which we see on General Kenobi. Alright, so he is back on 2 battlegrounds now, but is about to take a bunch of damage. And Wirfs playing in all wings to put it back as well during that turn. So Wirfs starting his turn here. Activate 16. Wall 16 has a sniper. I'm sorry about the mess. To hit U3PO. And Dan with no way to cancel, so U3PO going to go lost. There's an escape pod virtual. A non-combo escape pod virtual. And a rebel leadership. So that U3PO going lost. So now we're able to drain for 2 at the city, 3 at the square, or Zizar's Palace, 3 at the sewer, and 2 at the system. So that's 10. So Dan's going to be left with 2 force total. Wirfs has to make sure to use his Walkling here. Get that 1 force back. Every force matters. So here's a drain at the sewer, so it's Probot, No Escape, and Greedo. There's the Walkling. There's another escape pod virtual non-combo, but that one gets grabbed. Here's a drain of 2 at the palace and not 3. Interesting. Am I missing something? Leia's there. So that should be 2. And then you just add with this. Oh, because it's that saber. It's not a Jedi lightsaber. That's what we were missing. Drain of 2 at the city and a drain of 2 at the system. So Dan down to 1 card in hand, 2 in life force. And we go to the double box. Alright, so on the double box, we see Brian Fred versus Matthew Harrison-Trainor. Brian Fred playing Shadow Collective, Matthew on Hitco. Looks like Brian's starting the same 3 effects you normally would, pre-V20. Matthew starting the Farm Pooler, like my father before me, and probably Walkling. On your left, you'll see Wirfs has taken over every site on the table that Dan has put out, as well as the system. So that's pretty good. I don't know. So Dan here with 2 to activate. We'll get 2 drain for 1, which Wirfs has 2 cards in hand, so he will lose 1 from hand. And Dan looks like he's drawing up, so Chris Wirfs going to win that game by 27. I will update the league here, but that brings him to 4 plus 31, which puts him in solid position here. Nope. Update. That's what I'm doing. All right. So Wirfs as light side beats Dan by 27. Over on your right side, you'll see that Brian Fred has started his turn. Both players have pulled a grabber. Brian Fred was able to play a bridge from hand, play Trident Study from hand, and Maul from hand. So that's quite an opening hand for Brian Fred here. This one can go away. This one can go back to being big, and we can hit F11. And I can go back to being that size. All right, so Maul came down. Uses the objective to pull a 2-1. It's the reception area, which generates +1 if he can find an alien to stick there. Pulls Maul's Saber with They'll Be No Match for You. Has a blaster in hand as well. And Phantom Menace. Well, that's like a super Maul-centric opening hand. That's a kind of ridiculous, actually. I mean, on one hand, that's cool because your Maul feels kind of protected, right? He's gotten a little worse with the VSET 20 changes, right? So can't add or subtract 1 from lightsabers anymore, so his own lightsaber or any lightsaber targeting him, and then can't do both add and subtract, right? So he has to choose either to subtract or add. So a little more dangerous to have him floating around at battleground sites like this, but obviously Brian Fred going for it here. Excuse me. Get all gassy. 27 minus 8 is 19. Oh yeah, so I talked about Pod A little bit. Both players in this pod are currently 4-1. So at the moment they are both advancing, and this game is really going to be for seeding. So whoever, what, Dan? Why am I double boxing? Is there another one going on? Whoever wins this game is going to be the winner of the pod. And we'll see where he places. Obviously can't be first, but could be anywhere from 2 to 6. And then whoever loses this game is going to be 7th, and it's going to bump Justin Miyashiro out of the top 8, and bump Anthony Howard to the 8th spot. Listen, if the people want a double box, and Dan is the people, he's going to have to leave the chat, and then we'll double box it. Dan, get out of the chat. Leave the stream. Doing crazy things. Alright, that means we pull this down. We do this. We bring this one over here. I learned something about my my coworker the other day, and how he talks out loud when he does things. And I realized that I do the same thing. He just took it to another step because he talks to an invisible Ben Franklin when he's doing things. So that was a little weird, I think. But you know, I still see Dan in the chat. What are you doing? Get out of here. I'm not gonna double box till you get out. So Matt Harrison-Trainor here, taking his turn with Hitco. Played an our only hope, pulled Yoda's Hut. I don't believe he's deployed anything else. Here comes Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, Chris Kelly's favorite card, because it's Destiny 6, and no other reason at all. Pulls Luke's lightsaber and the Lars Moisture Farm as well. Also has General Kraken, who will add a Destiny here because all of his ability is provided by scouts. So that's pretty cool. And each of those Destinies is going to be +1. Dan, you're preventing us from double boxing by still being in the chat. Alright, so Matthew initiating a battle, swinging here at Maul. Draws a 7 and a 4, so that is going to hit Maul. Even the old Maul would not have been able to stop that. So that's unfortunate. Maul going to swing at Luke. Draws a 5. And a 5, so that will hit Luke. That will flip his objective and allow him to recirculate, which he does. I don't know how to check if Dan's still here. Like, I keep typing the thing that says his name, but it's there. Swinging at the General also, draws a 5 and a 5. Alright, so everybody's hit. Everybody's forfeit 0. Brian Fred will be able to add a Destiny to power that Greg points out in the chat, which is good. Alright, we can open the double box now. We can make myself small again. I can be big. Look at me. Brian's got to remember to add a Destiny to power. He has not done that yet that I can see. Does not add a Destiny to power. So Matthew drawing 2 Destiny here. I'm going to draw a 5, which becomes a 6 with Like My Father, which becomes a 5 with Maul, and then a 4. So 9 total is going to be 20 total. And Brian can't add with that one, so he's going to have a 2, and he's going to be at 6, so a difference of 14. That gun's going to cover 3. And Brian's going to have to stack a card, so that's unfortunate. Hopefully he has a Gick in hand. We move to the other one, where we have Chris Wirfs playing Dan Tartaglione. Chris Wirfs on carbon chamber testing here. We see during turn 1 he was able to flip his objective by getting Boba Fett to the audience chamber. Pretty standard turn 1. Not standard was the fact that he found Chelly and was able to get Chelly down to the 2-0. I'm not double boxed on stream. Okay, well, let's do not this. Is that double boxed on stream? You let me know if that's better, because I think I did that right now. Okay. What was not standard for Wirfs was that he was able to get Chelly down to the 2-0 and Dr. E down as well, so he's able to get that 2-0 before we can get Dodonna there, so he wouldn't be able to deploy spies. So that's good. We see on Dan's turn 1, he's gotten out Haven, he's gotten out Kifex, he's gotten out a Docking Bay, he's got Wedge Antilles V on Red Squadron 1, and then Kin Kian on Gray Squadron 1 to Yavin. Over on the right side, you will see that Brian Fred still has 11 battle damage remaining, and he's peeling 11 cards. So here goes Phantom Menace, which went to use pile. Wounded Warrior, Crimson Dawn Blaster, which went to use pile. Danik Jericho, Point Man, We Must Accelerate Our Plans. Crimson Dawn Blaster, Sith Fury, Point Man, No Escape, and Hondo Onaka. So not a good turn one for Brian Fred. Well, it was a good Brian Fred's turn one for Brian Fred. It was not a good Matthew Harrison-Trainor's turn one for Brian Fred. Matthew, of course, losing the General Kraken, Luke, and a Saber. And playing Anakin here to pull Daughter into hand during his move phase. That got changed a couple sets ago, I think. And then going to retrieve Anakin Skywalker V into hand. The interrupt into hand. And that will end the turn. So end of turn one. Pretty much a bloodbath on the right. And we're looking at a fast game on the left, I think. So Brian Fred activating here, activates 14. Only 3 cards in hand. Did Prophecy move? You just move Prophecy? Probably played an Our Only Hope to move Prophecy. On the left side, we see Chris Wirfs training for 2 at the audience chamber. Dan choosing not to pull battle plan here. Chris Wirfs also grabbing It Could Be Worse, which gets played on that drain of 2. I still don't like it. I don't know. Especially in this game. I wanna grab We're Doomed if that's a possibility. That's way worse for you. Though if your name is Wirfs, perhaps you always grab It Could Be Worse and say It Could Be Wirfs. That's what I would do. Dan did pull the Simple Trick Shield, so Wirfs could not drain at the war room here. On the right side, we see Brian Fred trying to pull a Maul, but he did not find one. So he moves to his draw phase, where he drew a couple cards and then played a third Point Man, and is now searching the cards in his force pile for whatever he wants. Yeah, Kira seems good too, if Wirfs is playing Kira for this matchup. Wirfs playing Duro, getting out IG-88 from reserve deck, and also playing D. Jasper, who is not an assassin, playing him to the Carbonite Chamber. We're going to trade the prisoner to Ig, so Wirfs is going to be able to dig for whatever he wants now. Alright, and then we'll end Brian Fred's turn on the right. And we'll see Matt activate 13 here. Wirfs is going to pull a card from Force Pile on the left. And then probably end his turn here. Alright, so Matthew activated 13 on the right side here. Only 5 cards in hand, so maybe we'll see the same type of turn this turn, where he's just going to draw a couple cards, which he does. He's already moved into his draw phase, just drawing some cards. It's a pretty strong play. You can get up to like 12 here and still save 6 force. That seems pretty good. You can threaten a lot with that. On the left side, Dan's going to activate 11. He's going to use one force to take a Corellian Slip into hand, but doesn't find it. Presumably he's going to drain because neither player has played Battle Plan, except I spoke too fast because there goes Wirfs playing Battle Order. I think if you're Dan, you still pay to drain here, right? This is a drain race, I think. This the CCT versus Yops. It's a drain race, and Dan also needs to find cards to kick people out, to kick Wirfs out of space. So it's interesting. Tries to restore freedom to Yavin 4, but can't. Podameron said no. So it's just a drain of 2 because Kinkian's there and adds 1 to the drain. Wirfs is going to lose Grumgar from hand. And He's All Yours Bounty Hunter from hand. On the right side, Matthew Harrison-Trainor played a Rebel Leadership looking for a general. He's deciding on which general to take. On the left side, Dan's going to pull Malachor. Malachor is an interesting choice. I guess it's a drain too. On the right side, we see that Matthew Harrison-Trainor took General Kenobi into hand. So he does have 12 cards now and 6 force saves still. Probably going to stop there. Dan's just going to pull Malachor, draw some cards, end his turn. Yeah, I guess that is where those hometown virtual sites are. So you can play It's a Hit on them. I'd probably just play Narshado. I don't like giving up force. Alright, so Wirfs on his turn can activate 13 force. Is going to take a card in a hand from force pile and then spend 3 to drain 2 at the war room. And potentially spend 3 more to drain 2 at the audience chamber. So Dan lost All Wings combo that he used earlier in the turn to get BB-8 in Black Squadron 1. Also lost Escape Pod and We're Doomed, Green Leader and Green 1, and Virgins in the Force. Wirfs is going to retrieve 1 as well. On the right side, we see that Brian Fred has activated 14. He's going to put down Zizor. Tries to get him a gun, but can't. On the left side, Wirfs retrieved a force and then played You'll Be Dead. So he's really just threatening 5 damage a turn if he wants to pay for it. And then he can dig for space pieces for a while as well. Does find an Accelerate here to get the bridge out. It's interesting playing Accelerate and bridges here. Maybe he's running both that and the passenger deck. I think the passenger deck just seems better because you can pull... I don't know if he's running Mighty Jabba. We always run Mighty Jabba that you can pull with Twi'lek to the audience chamber against mains. Maybe that's a thing that only we do. I don't know. It seems good. On the right side, we see that Brian Fred found his second Maul. Puts They Will Be No Match for You out of play to get a Saber back from the lost pile. I expect to see him join Zizor at the West Gallery. Zizor also had a gun, which must have come from hand. Kira comes down also, so maybe Brian Fred is spreading out here, which feels weird unless he drew Gick. On the left side, Dan activating 13 force, and Wirfs doing a couple things before he gets to do anything else, so he's going to activate a force with the Carbon Chamber console, pull a card with Ig. Dan looking for that Corellian Slip again, and won't find it again. On the right side, Brian Fred found a Phantom Menace to go with his Maul, so maybe he is just kind of moving him over. I think this is a dangerous play from Brian Fred here. Matthew Harrison-Trainor is going to have, what, 6 plus 13, 19 force to work with. We know he has at least General Kenobi. So General Kenobi can take out somebody easily and still have 13 force left to take somebody else out. Right? Like General Kenobi against Sizor, you're going to beat up Sizor. And then anybody against Kira, you can beat up Kira pretty good. Am I happy with the World Cup Finals match? Hell yeah, that was a great soccer game. I didn't even turn it on until halfway through because I woke up late today. It was fantastic. Of course, I had money on Argentina winning 2-0, and that did not happen. Alright, on the left side, we see Dan playing 2 copies of Projection of a Skywalker, one on the Audience Chamber, one on the War Room, bringing down Red 5 and Luke Skywalker V, both V, to Yavin 4. There comes Narshada. So he is playing 4 systems, which is interesting. On the right side, Brian Fred did not move Maul anywhere. He did flip his objective during the battle phase because both Prince Sizor and Kira are leaders, but then did not ping. Oh, he did move Maul. Sorry. He did move Maul, so he pinged, right? Oh, okay. I see what happened here. I got ahead of myself. Moved Maul to the 2-1. The ping occurs when Shadow Collective flips back to the 0 side here, so Matthew will have to lose a card. Dan on the left side moves Luke over to Narshada, leaves Wedge and Kin Kian there. We'll draw some cards. This double box thing isn't so bad. It's just a lot of talking. If at any point I'm talking too much, let me know. I can focus on one of these matches. It's fine. Alright, so on both sides we have start of new turn. So Wirfs here activating 16 force. Dan shuffling his deck. Sure. Wirfs will get a card from Force Pile. On the right side we have Matthew Harrison-Trainor activating 13 force, so he has 18 to work with instead of the 19 that I estimated. He must have lost one from Force Pile, that's what it was. Lost Anakin Skywalker Virtual, the Interrupt, from his Force Pile to the Shadow Collective ping. So 18 force to work with this turn. Right, on the left side, pinging with You'll Be Dead. So, if you are Matthew, who are you going after? I'm guessing Maul, just to eliminate him from the board, right? I actually don't think you need to eliminate Maul in this version of Maul, right? So if I'm Matthew, I think I talked about this earlier, you have General Kenobi in hand, who we see come down here against Kira. You probably have other characters in hand, right? You drew 8 or 9 cards last turn. I think you attack 2 spots, and the 2 spots where Brian is weakest is Kira and Sizor, right? Like Maul can drain for 3, I guess, but sure. But like, you come down with General Kenobi, you come down with Ahsoka somewhere, you clear him off the board, and now Brian's not doing anything. But that's obviously not doing what is in his hand. So we see what's in his hand here. It is General Kenobi and Ahsoka coming down against Kira, and then Jin coming down in front of Maul to block that drain, which is also a solid play. Like, you just had so many options, I feel like, if you were Matt. Will battle here, will swing at Kira. Is going to hit Kira. Yeah, this game might finish very quickly if there is no Gick. On the left side, we see that Wirfs didn't drain at all. He just paid 1 to retrieve 1 with his objective, came down with Stinger and Gurry, and now Woof in Slave 1. Here comes Jabba's Space Cruiser as well. We see Matt draws a 1 for Destiny, which Brian will make 0. So 11 power. And this is Qui-Gon's Saber, right? So does that make him forfeit 0? It does. Okay. Kier's going to draw a 3. So we'll be 11 to 6, and we'll have to stack another card. On the left, we see Wirfs continuing to add to his space stack. So Jabba Space Cruiser, and then Dengar in Punishing 1, which is going to be able to cancel Red 5's attrition here, even through something like an Organized Attack. And we'll battle into Red 5. On the right side, Matthew is immune to the attrition of 3. Kira will go lost, and Brian will owe 5 more cards, but does have the Gick. On the left side, we do see an Organized Attack anyway. I think that'll give Dan +2 power, but not much else. Corellian Slip here. Okay, there you go. He did find the Corellian Slip eventually. Corellian Slip is going to cancel the game text of Dengar in Punishing 1, so that's going to give Dan his immunity to attrition back. It's also non-unique apparently, and you can play 2, and you can cancel the text of 2 ships. So he's also going to cancel the text of Stinger, which was adding a Destiny, right? While Gurry piloting add 1's Battle Destiny, yeah. So now just 22 power to 7 power. Now 8 power with a few maneuvers. Oh, that doesn't add. It's just Dark Maneuvers that adds. Okay. So 22 to 7. Matthew on the right, post-battle, just draws a couple cards and pulls Battle Plan. On the left side, Wirfs draws a 2 for Battle Destiny, so 24 total. Dan draws a 5, so 12 total. Going to be down by a total of 12. 13. I missed 1 somewhere. Oh, it's -1 from Woof. So it's only a 4. So down by 13. Wirfs has to lose 4 attrition. I think you lose Jabba's Space Cruiser here, unless you're probably thinking about... maybe you lose Dengar, because, I mean, he can pull the Corellian Slip again next turn. Which he does. He loses Dengar. Dan has a bigger decision to make here. Down by 13. On the right side, Brian Fred activating 14 cards. Matthew playing Our Only Hope to move Prophecy over to the Ewok village that he has a pretty good handle on. So Wirfs is going to be able to, not Wirfs, Brian Fred is going to be able to ping for 1 here with You'll Be Dead. Dan is peeling 13 cards. I'll get you that full list when it's done. Oh, okay. Peeling 6 cards and then losing Luke. So those 6 cards were Rapid Fire, A Few Maneuvers, Organized Attack, Bith Shuffle, Desperate Reach, all which were in his use pile that we saw them all. Rebel Barrier and All Wings Report In. And then forfeits Luke for the remaining 7. Puts Walking out of play to retrieve that Luke. Yeah, so Wirfs is going to start to take control here, right? Because he can now drain for 1, 1, and 1 and ping 1 all for free. Whereas Dan has to pay 3 to drain for 2 if he's able to actually liberate Yavin 4. And that's if, it's additional 2 from Wirfs if he can maintain control of that system. On the right side, Force Push from Brian. He pulled Fanfare to look at his reserve deck, so he's looking for something specific. He is going to pay 3 to drain for 1, and then he is going to ping for 1 as well. Matthew losing our only hope, and we'll see what he loses for the ping. Wirfs on the left pulling resistance, so even if Yavin 4 is liberated, it will still only be a drain of 2, since it's +1 from Kin Kian, and the English word is escaping me. Potentially +1 from the liberation. Brian Fred pings 1. Matt loses Luke Jedi Knight. Brian also grabbed the Hear Me Baby Hold Together, so it's entirely possible that he's running hidden weapon stuff in there. And what else does that cancel? Ceasefire? Probably not. Probably not Overload. Probably not Defensive Fire. It's probably hidden weapons if he's running anything. That or he's just grabbing a card. Who knows? Looks like Dan did liberate. So Wirfs lost a card from reserve deck. So nobody knows what it is. And then drains for 3, which will be reduced to 2. Wirfs taking a card into hand from Force Pile. On the right side, we've got Zam Wessel and BB9E coming down. So there's that BB9E that Carl was talking about in chat. That's going to be able to break Jin's cover here. What beer am I doing? This is called Modern Hipster IPA by Evil Twin Brewing. It's okay. Alright, so we see on the right side BB9E going used, Jin's cover being broken. On the left side we see Dan splitting up his ships, flipping his objective, and is now going to get to retrieve a card. Places Vergence out of play to retrieve Hobby. I don't think I'm a hipster. I don't know. I've been called a hipster. I don't think I am. Brian Fred drawing 1 card, peeking at his Force Pile now. He's going to ping because he's flipped currently and is going to flip back at the end of his turn with 3 Battlegrounds. So we'll get to ping 1. On the left side, Dan drawing several cards. I think that's 7 now. 8 cards. Drew 8 cards this turn. Oh man, I forgot about streaming things. I can do cool streaming things, like give away packs. Jared said I can give away a GAMP AI pack, but that requires coming up with like a question to do that, so we're gonna have to hold off on that one. But I can give you a token for this stream. Let's see, what do we got going on here on this games? Let's do the very predictable token of Taco Bill here, aka King Kian. So King Kian's gonna be your token for this stream. Sorry it came, an hour and 45 minutes into it. King Kian, token for the stream. Alright, on the left side we got Wirfs activating, right? It's Wirfs' turn? Yep. Activating, taking card into hand, pinging with You'll Be Dead. Draining for, it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 total, it looks like. Dan losing all wings. 3PO, X-Wing laser cannon, General Dodonna. Rapid fire. And Derek Hobby Clevian. On the right side, Matthew has activated 14, so 15 force to work with. We'll drain for 2 at the Ewok village. On the left side, Wirfs is already putting cards back, trying to play Uta Guta to get a Greedo, which he knows is somewhere in his use pile, or force pile, excuse me. On the right side, down comes Daughter of Skywalker, who can cancel text, right? Yeah. Daughter of Skywalker, Han, Optimistic General coming down. On the left side, Ellis and Hinthra coming down to Kifix. Gonna pull Ponda Baba, probably. That would be my guess. It is Ponda Baba. On the right side, General Solo revealed a 4 and a 6. Matt took the 4 in a hand, puts the 6 on top. That means that he can use Daughter to cancel Zam's text, so Zam will no longer draw Destiny. On the left side, Jabba the Hutt was deployed from reserve deck, from hand on Jabba's Space Cruiser, so that'll be immune to attrition. On the right side, Matt using Solo to add a Destiny to Power. That Destiny to Power is going to be a 1. And then a 3 for Destiny, so it's going to be 12 to 2. Maul is going to subtract 1 from that, presumably. So 11 to 2 is a difference of 9. Zam covers 4, so if Brian doesn't have another Gick, it's going to be a difference of 5. Plus the 1 force, too, I feel the conflict. On the left side, Wirfs moving around a little bit in space is going to move in front of that drain of 2 at Yavin. It's going to leave Ellis at Kifix. Brian Fred peeling cards. On the right side, loses Disarmed, Mighty Jabba, Prince Zizor. I'm scouring the virtual cards I just printed out for some kind of trivia question. Lady Proxima and Imbalance for the last 2. On the left side, Dan is going to activate 7. The one thing I don't love about the Champions League is there's no way so both of these games feel kind of settled at this point, right? Like, Wirfs is going to win this game, and I think Matthew's going to win this game too. But there's no good way to, like, compare between different pods other than doing differential. So I saw earlier today in a couple games where it was kind of people lamenting the fact that the game is going to be a little drawn out because it has to be differential. So maybe we'll work on a way of fixing that next year, but, like, strength of schedule obviously doesn't work because everybody plays, it's all going to be exactly the same. Dan coming down with BB-8 in Black Squadron 1 with Poe, and then Gold Leader in Gold 1 to Yavin. On On the right side, Matthew moved Jin over to the 2-0. I don't know if he drew any or not, and then just passed turn. Brian activated 11 of his 16, saving 1. He's going to spend 3 to drain for 1 at the West Gallery. On the left side, Wirfs activated 16. He's not even going to go get a card. He's just going to start draining, so drains for 2 at the system, 1 at the war room, 1 at the carbonite chamber, and 1 at the audience chamber. That's going to be Leia Organa V. That's an interesting card to include in your Yavin 4 deck. Leia Organa V, control and tunnel vision, Hanshui and the Falcon virtual, effective repairs combo, where are you looking for me? Organized attack to the You'll Be Dead ping. Yeah, it's not a bad thing, Jared. It's just, I don't know. I can see it turning a few people off because they had to play a game that they were going to lose for the next 15 minutes, right? On the right side, there is Aura Singh and Dr. E coming down to the 2-0 against Jin. On the left side, Wirfs is using his retrieval. Hondo Onaka joins on the right side. Fred clearly hoping that Matt doesn't have a Gick. Hujix. Flips his objective, does the recirculate reshuffle. Battles Jin. Gonna shoot at Jin. Gonna draw good enough to hit Jin. On the left, Dan calling Wirfs out to fight him. And Wirfs obliges. Because he gets to retrieve 2. Organized attack will make everybody there immune to attrition for Dan. Right now we're at 22 power to 17 power. Oh, I guess somebody got a cannon. I guess I missed that. So the cannon is going to shoot Stinger, the X-Wing laser cannon, and make Stinger lost. On the right side, we have a battle as well. We're still in that middle of that battle. Looks like Brian drew a 4. Maul made that a 5. Matt drew a 5 also. Difference of 10 force. Jin was not forfeit 0. There was an Odin played. So now difference of 5 force. On the left side, that Destiny 6 got close called, but the redraw on Destiny also makes Stinger lost, so Stinger gone. Now it's 17 to 17. Now Poe adds a Destiny. On the right side, Matthew losing cards. Loses Sorry About the Mess, Skywalkers, the Odin that was played, Yoda, and Blaster Deflection. Alright, I'm going to type my thing into the chat. Give me 1 second here. Alright, so for a GIMP AI pack, I want you to tell me, other than Kin Kian, who is the matching pilot for Gray Squadron 1? First person to tell me that will get a GIMP AI pack added to their GIMP. Alright, on the left side we had a Voyeur played. That's going to make Dan lose a force. Theron Net was not correct. Psalm, Colonel, I will accept from Greg Shaw. So Greg Shaw has won himself a GIMP AI pack. Colonel Psalm. Poor guy. Never gets played. So that battle finished. Looks like Jabba was forfeited. Everybody stayed on Dan's side. On the right side, we have, during Matthew's turn, we have Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, Luke's Bionic Hand, Luke's lightsaber, and Yoda coming down against Prince Sizor. What do we got going on here? Looks like Wirfs delivered the Mithril to the dungeon to retrieve 2 force. And is going to move his ships away to a safe distance. On the right side, battle was initiated against Sizor. Sizor's shot got blaster deflectioned. That was actually, so Matthew's first action was to use the Bionic Hand to trade our only hope for that blaster deflection. Matthew putting Walkling out of play here, thinking he could win the game on this turn. Brian has no hand, so obviously no Gick. Luke gonna swing at Sizor now. Is gonna hit him. So he's going to be 14 plus Destiny to Sizor's 6 plus Destiny. On the left side, looks like Dan is just activating and drawing. So Wirfs is going to win that game by 30. And we'll get that into the tracker here. So Wirfs now in the driver's seat of Pod E after winning 2 games against Dan to move to 6 plus 61. And then that's going to be Dan minus 49. Alright, so we can close the double box now. And we're just going to finish this game up here. Looks like 9 battle damage, so not quite going to finish up. I missed the Destinies here. So Brian peeling cards. Matthew not having to lose anything. Hello, I'm streaming. Alright, so Brian's turn here. Has 2 force left in reserve. Activates it all. He's going to draw those 2. So Matthew's going to win this game by 24. He's going to be the one to win that pod, Pod A. Matthew plus 24. Alright, so that looks like the end of this game too. So we're gonna end the stream here, I think. I don't know if we got any other games going on now or scheduled or anything. Maybe Greg Shaw will play a game at some point. Looks like David is getting ready to play a game, so maybe somebody else can stream that game against Eric Hunter. He's definitely got a table posted at least. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out on a random Sunday night. Sounds like more games will be fired up at some point tonight. So Greg's going to play his games against John and Charlie. Looks like David's going to play his game against Eric. Looks like Jared's going to be streaming those, I think. Is that what it said? Either Jared or Dan will stream those. So you'll get more Champions League coverage. And if you're in the chat and you have not played all your games, please play your games. That would be great. I will get things updated as I get them, so once you play your games, please let me know. Alright, have a good one, guys.